It's Monday and it's noon. So I am so honored to be here today to kind of go through what is happening in our markets globally, nationally, locally, and how that is impacting real estate. So let's jump straight into that. And just by way of an introduction, I am Jennifer Tim. I am the owner of the Welcome Home Global Group, powered by Keller Williams. And I am passionate about making sure that you have the right information about what is going on with potentially the largest asset that you own. So let's start right out with a little bit of a catch up. So glad to be back here. I have been gone for the past couple of weeks. We were in Italy. And let me tell you that the global economy and the issues and the concerns that we're experiencing here in the US, without a doubt, were things that we heard about from those that we stayed with. We tend to travel a little differently when we go internationally. We're able to do this. We do Booking.com, Airbnbs, and we talk to the local people. We avoid hotels at all costs, don't do organized tours, nothing wrong with them. It's just the way that we prefer to travel because we truly believe it brings us closer to the local people and how they're living. And we were looking at a couple of potential investment opportunities in real estate in Italy. So I'll touch on those a little bit later, but let's jump right in. And our big question today is, where on earth are interest rates headed? We're hearing all sorts of things. And actually, for a lot of my friends, they've kind of given up because they're very happy with where their interest rates are currently. They're not in the market. There's no motivation. There's no need for them to move. And they have no clue with where things are headed with interest rates. However, if you are a buyer, you certainly know. And if you are a seller, it is really important to understand what the interest rate market is doing to your potential buyer pool. So let's have a look and see what has happened nationally. So we know that we had a report last week. Initial weekly jobless claims were lower than expected. That's good news. Manufacturing, definitely not as good. Still supply chain issues, still concerns with labor market, etc. Now, there are a lot of jobs available. We've looked at those reports in the past. However, there are quite a few people who, for various reasons, have elected not to return to the jobs that they were in. So manufacturing is definitely seeing the negative side effects of that. So let's look specifically at housing. We had a report that came out last week that said that in September, the existing home sales came in at 4.71 million, and the estimate was 4.7. Now, this represents the lowest level since 2012. It's 24% lower than the same time last year. That's a significant number. Inventory levels, this is a huge part of it. So we're sitting nationally with 3.2 months worth of inventory. So basically that means we just don't have enough homes on the market for the buyers that are out there. One thing I don't have on the slide, but something that we have discussed in the past, is that millennials are our largest buying pool ever. And we do not have enough homes to meet the needs that they have for housing. And if we can't get our millennials, so that's our largest buyer pool, in, then they can't start the process of building wealth through real estate and transitioning into those different or bigger homes. And that's how the cycle kind of stalls. The inventory levels, ideally 6 months of inventory represents a truly balanced market. And for many of the economists out there, they're saying if we can just get to 4 months of inventory, then that would indicate that we're returning to a healthier inventory level. And the intention of the Feds, by increasing the Fed rate, which then results in the mortgage rates going up, the intention was that they would slow down the crazy buyer situation that we've had for the last couple of years. And then we would see inventory levels rising. Well, not quite happening, because a lot of sellers are quite happy, as I mentioned, with their lower interest rates. And we'll look at where those interest rates are in a little bit. Continuing from discussing our housing, Overall housing starts, so these are new constructions, were lower than a year ago. Now, as a comparison to the Great Recession, we had a lot of new home inventory that was sitting out there. So we had a surplus of inventory, and a lot of it was the new construction. We don't have that anymore. So that's behind. Single family starts were down a much larger 19%. So the overall housing would have included multifamily. And now we're looking at single family, which is definitely the most desirable, and that's down 19%. So we've got a lack of resale inventory, we've got a lack of new inventory, and we've got the largest buyer pool ever in history. Definitely a recipe for disaster. The other concern is that home builders are not, they just don't have the desire to actually get in and start any of those new builds. We discussed that a couple of weeks ago, I think, before we went off to Italy, and it has to do with supply of materials. It's got to do with labor costs, and also that they're not getting the backing for the financing that they need. So they're having to look at private financing instead of government-backed financing. And as a result, that's costing them more money. And yeah, with declining buyer demand because of the interest rates, they're kind of saying, well, why would we put all our eggs into that basket at this stage? So higher prices, shortages for land, materials, skilled labor remained major issues holding back a faster pace of construction. Everything that I've just said. So it's that perfect storm for the crazy market that we're seeing at the moment. Mortgage applications, not surprising at all. Purchase applications are down 38%. Based on this time last year. Again, it's those interest rates. When we started out the year at sort of 3% or 3.25 is the official rate that gets quoted for the start of the year. And we're now sitting, more than double that right now. Obviously, those, it's just buyers and affordability, they've just been priced out of the market. Refinance applications are also down because, again, most of us took advantage of the lower interest rates during COVID. We personally are under 3% on our loan, and that was a refinance during COVID. So, a lot of people are kind of looking at refinances and saying, well, there's no added value in refinancing. As buyers seek lower rates, the share of adjustable rate applications climbed to 13%. So there are options out there. And this is obviously not a solution if you're totally priced out of the market, but there are ways of structuring your loan package. So if you have any interest in that at all, reach out to us. We'll connect you to some of our trusted lender partners who can see what package may work for you. And then also in our newsletter, which will be coming out on Wednesday, our featured article is all going to be about the 2-to-1 interest rate buy down, which is of benefit to buyers and sellers. And we're explaining what that is and how that could benefit you depending on if you're a buyer or a seller. But it is something that's worth looking into if that's the right thing for you. So know that there are solutions, and we're always here to help you with those. Just a quick look federally again, we're looking at our consumer price index. And so the blue line, and this is where we are, you can see this major jump that we've had is for all consumer items. And then this is the one less food and energy. And the last time the levels were were this high was basically back in 1982, and we're all feeling it. Anybody who's been to the grocery store, anybody who's been to the gas pump, anybody who's doing anything, buying anything, that's what we're seeing. So that's the reality. It all comes down to how much can you afford in your family right now. Just another look at where we are and kind of do this comparison since 2020. You can see we've just gone up and up and up. And it's the dramatic increase which people are feeling in a more emphasized way, because we have not had a gradual, it's very much been this massive increase that we're feeling, that percentage change from, just a couple of years ago. yeah, it's a different world that we're in for sure. So how has that impacted interest rates? So 7.37%. So this is from Mortgage News Daily, and this was the rate as of last Thursday. The last time we had a rate that high was the year 2000. Now think about it. We started out at the beginning of the year around about the 3.25%, and we're now sitting at 7.37%. So from a seller, from your point of view, know that you have fewer buyers who can afford as much as they could afford at the beginning of the year, which is why we're seeing that buyer demand go down, and they're looking at different price points rather than maybe where your property is. So your buyer pool is diminished, which means your buyers are really those who are coming to you with offers are serious buyers. So pay attention to what they're offering you, and you just have to be willing to make a few more concessions if there is a need for you to sell your property. It's all about that motivation. But that is a significant increase in interest rates. None of us could have predicted that at the beginning of the year. We thought we were just on this amazing journey. Didn't think we would get as high as 7.37. So if we have a look at this graph, and this kind of represents over the years, where interest rates have gone up and down and over different years. And you can see like 1982, we were all the way, there was a drop as the weeks progressed. And then we have 1980, we had some crazy stuff going on then. And the blue line is where we are right now. So again, year-to-date increase in our 30-year fixed mortgage rate, it has gone up significantly, and direct impact to affordability for buyers. So pay attention, buyers and sellers, to what this means. All right, so where on earth are we going with the interest rates? So two very important things that we need to understand, and I'm certainly not going to debate the merits of what the Feds are doing in their attempt to reduce inflation. I'm just going to tell you what is actually scheduled. So the Federal Open Market Committee, and I see we're missing a bracket there, I apologize, are scheduled to meet on November 2nd. And they had initially mentioned when they met in August that they would increase the effective federal funds rate, the EFFR rate, by another 75 basis points. At that meeting, they're going to discuss what they're going to do in December. Some of what they've been doing has had the desired results. There's definitely a huge impact for real estate and what we're seeing and how it's impacting the real estate industry from a consumer point of view. Obviously, as real estate agents, we're very concerned, about how we do this. And so it's so important to make sure we've got the right information to equip you with. Now, the Feds are definitely on this track because they have these little dot plot maps, and I didn't include them this time. I've shown them in previous sessions, but you can definitely Google them, where they were looking at where those increases were going to come and how far they were going to go. Well, they have adjusted their plan quite significantly. However, at the same time, there's some rumblings from the economists that I follow that maybe they won't increase as much in December as they had initially indicated, but we are still expecting that there are going to be some kind of increases. What this means to interest rates, of course, we don't know. And the challenge with this is that when these Fed rate changes are made, it takes a while to filter through. So they're very aggressive at the moment. We're seeing dramatic increases in interest rates. The Feds are not seeing the results that they were hoping for. Because what happened a couple of months ago, they increased rates. There was major panic. We went up to 6%, and then we dropped down to 5%. And the Feds didn't like that. They said, no, well, this is not going to stop the buyer frenzy and the rate at which properties were appreciating, prices were going up. So they said, okay, well, we need to push forward. So there's looking at it, and this is just personally, it's my opinion, it kind of seems like there's a little disconnect and they're going so aggressively and they're not giving what they're doing time to filter through the housing industry because it's not seen immediately. It takes a little bit of time. So anyway, we will definitely be watching on November 2nd. We'll be reporting back on that meeting and what the result is in the change. Because again, when they change the Fed rate, it's all about the 10-year treasury, and the 10-year treasury is then how we see that influencing the mortgage rates. So talking globally, one of the things that really struck us, so we traveled fairly extensively through Italy. This is trip number 5. So we do have a little bit of perspective over 33 years of visiting Italy, kind of what's going on. And one of the most profound impacts that they're seeing has to do with energy and heating in particular. As European countries approach winter, heating is a big topic of conversation. And we stayed with a host in Modena, and that, for anybody who follows, is a car enthusiast, that's where the Ferrari museum is. There's a racetrack, Lamborghini's there. And if you're a foodie, that's where balsamic comes from. So we were back in Modena primarily to track down some balsamic that we wanted, and it was en route to a surprising trip to Venice that was not on our itinerary, and weather changed, and so we left Sicily and headed off that way. But anyway, so one of our hosts said to us, I hope you guys aren't too cold, because we are not able to turn our heating on yet because of the war with Ukraine and the energy crisis with Russia. The supplies are way down, and they are not able to even turn on their heating systems for an extended period of time. It was fine for us. We thought it was fine. We weren't sure why they were all dressed up for the middle of winter and we were in shorts, t-shirts, and flip-flops. But hey, you know what? We were on vacation. Different story to when you're living there. The other thing that our host explained to us was that their energy costs have gone up 300%. So they are seeing that then translated into the price of goods everywhere. And we noticed that. We noticed we were there just before COVID. So 2019, we were in Italy, spent 3 weeks there. This time was only 9 days. But we saw a dramatic change in the price of food, just about everything. There, normally we kind of come back with a fairly well-stocked set of suitcases, always worried about that overweight, overcharge, for our luggage. Because we've been able to take advantage of some pretty good deals out there. It was a little different this time. And we were very sensitive. All our hosts were very careful to ask us not to leave any lights on unnecessarily and be a little more cognizant, which, Italians and their sense of hospitality is supreme. And I don't think that's never been mentioned to us in the past. And we're very conscious of that, but it was very pronounced this time. So rates around the world are tracking the US increases. So the European Central Bank is going to meet next week, and there's a 90% chance that it will increase rates by 75 basis points. And this is following in line from the 475 basis point increases that we've seen here in the US. German rates have jumped. And, when we looked at the price of some properties in Italy, as I say, with a view to investing in some, we were surprised at how their values, their property prices have increased in areas. Now, at the same time, I have a networking partner. He is a phenomenal he knows everything there is to know about stock markets and what's happening around the world. And he shared with me just this morning that he did a study with his students, and they had a look at global real estate and discovered that the highest prices, relative, when you look at all those comparison factors, is in Canada and in Toronto. So, it's an unreasonably priced market there. And the lowest is actually in Milan in Italy. Well, we didn't go to Milan. Maybe we should have. Maybe we would have found the property we were looking for. anyway. But it just shows that what we're experiencing here in the United States is being experienced around the globe. We know that, you know, inflation, recession is on everyone's lips, and it's being experienced by everyone around the world. So, you know, let's just kind of stay tuned and realize that this is a global phenomenon. It is definitely not restricted to the US. But now, having taken it from federal to global, let's have a look and see how all of this is impacting us right here in Southern California. And we'll start off with interest rates that I received last Friday. And so we've got our interest rates over here. So we are seeing them knocking on that 7%, depending on, you know, how you look and whether you want to buy down your rate. Our high balance is definitely around about that 7%. And of course, you've got your oh my gosh, our high loan amounts that we have here. So that's going to be a little bit higher. Okay, mortgage rates. And this actually is an outdated slide, and I apologize for that. I didn't actually get them in time, but these have gone up slightly, but it just shows the importance of being willing to shop around with your lenders, depending on how you look as a borrower is going to be what that package is going to look like for you. Looking at adjustable rate mortgages is definitely an option, and your loan advisor can be the one to advise you on whether that's a good option for you. So, housing debrief, reports on housing. Stephen Thomas gives us an update on Facebook every Thursday, around about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm just going to share a couple of slides from this last Thursday's session, because he has a look at the whole of Southern California, and then we'll look at 4 of our cities in a little more detail. Affordability is the big conversation right now. So if we look at rates and payments of median detached home over time, you can see how, if we look sort of September 2018, where that median home would cost you, you know, your monthly payment would be $2,500. We're now looking at, you know, closer to the $5,000 a month. So it's all about how much can you afford to pay from your disposable income for housing. And as the interest rates have gone up, obviously that's what goes up too. Affordability is everything. And of course, a median detached home, yeah, that's an interesting conversation that we have here in Southern California. All right, so what does our demand look like? So as I mentioned, the demand has gone down because the interest rates have gone up because of affordability. So this is a good example of where we are. And remember the today figures from last Thursday. So we are absolutely, you know, our demand is very clear in this graph. We've been trying to get beyond the purple, which is 2019. Orange is where we are now, and demand has gone down. This obviously, this funny green apparition here was 2020. So that was the start of COVID, and then things recovered and came back. So this is where we are now. And it's because it's painful for buyers to think about paying that much money for a home. And even though we started out great and we thought, okay, this is going to be a phenomenal year for buyers and sellers, we then had the dramatic increases in interest rates, and, you know, and then we had a little bump, as I said, when interest rates they hit that 6% and then they kind of settled back down a little bit. We saw an increase in demand. And then, of course, the Feds, you know, changed the Fed rate by another 75 basis points, affecting the 10-year treasury, affecting our mortgage rates up, and then buyers said, no, forget it. And then on top of that, as you can see, we are in our seasonal decline because buyers don't tend to want to move at this time of the year. We're all, you know, I know a lot of families, homes around me in my neighborhood are decorated for Halloween. Some of them are over the top. It's going to be a fun time in Capo Beach for sure with what's going on in the neighborhood. But that means that a lot of people don't want to move during the holidays. So we're definitely down. Our active listing inventory. So this is the big story, of course, because we were hoping with the increase in the interest rate, or that was the Fed's intent, that we would see more properties come on as people maybe couldn't afford their properties. And, they would be forced to sell because they couldn't afford it. But guess what? Interest rates are so low and people are not refinancing it into a higher rate. And so they're sticking in their homes. And if a property is priced correctly for the market, it sells without a doubt. But yeah, we went up slightly in our inventory, but we're still down over last year, and we're way down over our 3-year average. That was sitting at 34% more homes on the market than we have currently. So we just don't have enough properties on the market, even for our latent buyer demand. So speed of the market. So this is all about, where are we? Are we a hot sellers market? Where are we? And basically, we are now just entering a balanced market, which is 90 to 120 days on the market. And this is our highest level since April 2020. And think about what we were doing in April 2020. I mean, nobody was out on the streets. We were barely going to grocery stores. We were in a shutdown mode, and just, the whole world was coming to a grinding halt as we were figuring out how to deal with a global pandemic. Our 3-year average is 83 days. So, but compared to last year, where we had these low interest rates, all the buyers were out shopping, there were 20 offers on every property. It was sold within the, first couple of hours of being on the market. Last year was 32 days. So we are now sitting at 95 days on the market, slowing down, but we still don't have enough inventory to really push us into a buyer's market. So just that reminder again, balanced market is 90 to 120 days on market. And, we're not predicting at this point in time, with the trends, that we're going to even get into a slight buyer's market. We had hoped, but not going to happen. Balanced market is probably the best we can hope for. So what is happening in some of our local areas? So we're going to look at Dana Point, Laguna Beach, San Clemente, and San Juan Capistrano. These are numbers that I pulled from this morning. So again, if you think about 95 days on market, what are we seeing here? We are seeing in Dana Point 56 days on market, which is, we're still in a seller's market. Think about the median list price that we're seeing. We don't have a lot of properties coming on, but that's a pretty high price point, and yet they're still selling in honestly, a fast time. So yeah, it's sellers all the way. Laguna Beach, higher price points, median days on market 77. That's a reflection of their price point. They do have a little more inventory. And again, Laguna Beach is a very selective market, depending on, it's a different way of life in Laguna Beach, a great way for some people, and other people, no, some people just prefer to visit, but it's a strong market there, and we're still in a seller's market in Laguna Beach. San Clemente, this is median days of 49 days on the market. Our median list price 1.8, so it's more affordable. You've got a higher buyer pool there. And again, it all depends on whether the properties are priced correctly. But 49 days on market is still a seller's market. San Juan Capistrano, median list price 2.185, and their median days on market is 46. So between San Clemente and San Juan, that's where we're seeing the greatest demand, because of the price points that they have available. So strong sellers market in San Juan as well. Okay, so bottom line, and going to the question of where the interest rates are headed. If the Feds continue along the track that they have said that they're going to pursue, then we're going to see the Fed rate go up again next month and in December. chances are that that will then result in interest rates going higher. Now, we have some economists saying, well, they see 7.5% by the end of the year. It could be higher, unless the feds actually come in and do something specifically about housing. So that is a huge impact to buyers and sellers. So for sellers, again, it means that your buyer pool is being reduced because it's an affordability factor. It means that cash buyers are definitely who you're going to be looking for. And those buyers are going to come in expecting more concessions from you as a seller. So if you have a desire and a need to sell during the next couple of months, there are buyers out there. We are still working with a couple of buyers, without a doubt, but you're not going to see the prices, or market value is not what you could have looked at a couple of months ago. We've just spent the last week working with 2 potential sellers, helping them understand what the current market is looking at, and looking at it from various angles to help them understand, and looking at competition and, how many offers went into properties that are already in escrow or have just closed. The market is changing on a daily basis, but you have to be very aware that the buyers are not in a frenzy anymore, and they have the luxury of a little more time to analyze the situation. There are a few more choices, not enough for sure, but they've got some choices. So buyers, find the mortgage package that's going to work for you. We can never predict that interest rates will come down in the future. Looking historically, and they are cyclical, we don't know where they're going to end up. However, if you need a break for the first couple of years, there's the 2-1 interest rate buy down, which will be in our newsletter article. There's an adjustable rate mortgage. There's paying down your points. So there are various things that might work for you, and you need to have those conversations with a reputable lender. And of course, we're always honored to introduce you to a couple that we know their story, know how everything works, and going to take good care of you. So bottom line, it's the same thing that we've had every single week. We're definitely in our holiday market now, but there are buyers for the properties that are out there, and if they are priced correctly for their location and their condition, you will get an offer. It may take a couple of weeks to get that offer, but you're going to get an offer for sure. If you have zero interest in the property and the buyers are rejecting it, it's going to be the price, without a doubt. It'll be the price. Buyers' strategies, that's what's really important. And on both sides, we're going to encourage you to hire a real estate consultant like myself, anybody on my team. We're here to empower you with the right information so that you can make the right decisions for you and your family. And of course, there are many amazing real estate consultants out there, professionals who are there to assist you. Of course, we hope that you would just give us an opportunity to sit down with you and go through, find out what your needs are and how we can meet those needs. If it's somebody else, of course, we totally respect that. We're all in this together, and we're all here as real estate agents to help our consumers buy and sell real estate. So I hope that gives you a little update on where we are. It isn't all doom and gloom. There are solutions, there are buyers, there are properties going on the market and going into escrow every single day, and we would be honored to be on that journey with you. Any questions, reach out. If not, have a fantastic week. And hooray, who else is celebrating that it actually feels a little bit like fall this week? It's a little chilly, I must admit. There's, the sweaters are out, and it's wonderful, and yet we still have the warmth of the sun. So have a fantastic week. Bye.